game on the line. You can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
There's a lot of you don't know about the fantasy headlines. Nation. Headline Nation. Fantasy headlines for the nation. I'm a headliner. I'm a headliner.
Yo. Analytics off the chain. All the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that Chubb life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.
Yo, what's going on, chat? It is Overreaction Monday. Gonna be talking about what happened over the weekend, what happened on Sunday, what happened on Thursday night. Gonna be going through a lot of different information. Hopefully everybody had prosperous weeks this week. Seeing a lot of people saying they won their matchup this week, so glad to see that. Absolutely love it. Unfortunately, I can't make you feel better about Justin Jefferson. That is unfortunate. Let's hop right into it. I'm gonna be going through. So really, I've got the Jeremy. How'd my pick'ems do? If it hadn't been for James Conner getting hurt, we would have hit 8 of the 9 pick'ems that we selected Sunday morning. We were good this week. We were good. Let's go ahead and we're gonna hop into it. Let's talk about some different things. We're gonna be going kind of game by game on a few different things. So I'm gonna be looking through just like some snap counts, different notes that I have written down. We'll go through that and kind of talk about some different things I've seen from each game. Then at the end, we'll talk, like if you still have questions at the end, we'll kind of go through that. At this point though, let's kind of like sit back, let's listen, let's kind of go through these things together. I'll try to cover as much as I possibly can right now. But like I said, I'm going to go through kind of game by game, talk about snap counts, different things that I saw, things that we need to be keeping an eye on, not keeping an eye on, worried about, not worried about, things like that. Let's start with Jacksonville and Buffalo. Once again, Travis Etienne just absolutely dominating Tank Bigsby. I know that we've joked about it a lot. I'm going to be super serious here for a second. I know we've joked about it a lot. Tank Bigsby is not a bad football player. He's in the NFL for a reason, but he's not better than Travis Etienne. He never was, and he never had a skill set that would ever have replaced Travis Etienne. We really got to move away from the Tank Bigsby is going to take over for Travis Etienne. I've been saying it. Travis Etienne was inside my top 12 this week. It was a matchup that did bring a little bit of risk for Travis Etienne. The 2 big runs are really what solidified a huge day for him. But he saw 73 snaps to Tank Bigsby's 13. He saw 31 routes run to Tank Bigsby's 4. He saw 5 targets compared to Tank Bigsby's 0. He saw 26 carries compared to Tank Bigsby's 3. It's it's Travis Etienne. He's got to be played in every matchup. He's a running back right now that doesn't deserve any questions as to whether or not we're playing him, because there's not very many running backs that are getting more carries or more snaps or more touches than Travis Etienne. Good game by him. Absolutely love to see it. As far as the Buffalo Bills go, it was a little bit concerning on the James Cook side, but that was another one this week that I kind of adamantly warned you guys about, right? Tried to give you guys the sense that, hey, James Cook, this Jacksonville front line is very good. It does very, very well stopping the run. We've got a matchup that might not be conducive to James Cook putting together some big plays, things of that nature. So what happened yesterday, definitely concerning for those of you starting James Cook and what you want to get out of him from a fantasy perspective. George gifting 10 memberships to the Headliner Nation community. George, appreciate you so much. Thanks for that generosity. Chat, can we see a little hashtag George in the chat? And also hit the like button if you appreciate George gifting 10 memberships to our community here. Thank you so much, George. Greatly appreciate it. But one thing about James Cook is he saw 37 snaps this weekend compared to Damian Harris's 11 and Latavius Murray's 11. So still very much the lead back there. He saw 27 routes run. 27 routes run compared to 5 from Damian Harris and 8 from Latavius Murray. He saw 4 targets compared to Harris's 0 and Murray's 1. And he saw 5 carries compared to Harris's 3 and Murray's 2. Unfortunately, not only was it a bad matchup for him, but it was a matchup where Buffalo just didn't really put it together until the final quarter of the game. So because of that, not a great week for James Cook, but we bake that into his ranking this week. So if you're shocked by this performance, you shouldn't be, because I tried to warn you earlier in the week it might not be a great performance. I mean, this is a guy I've had inside my top 12 a couple of times this season, and all of a sudden I dropped him down to like a very risky low-end RB2. So that right there should tell you, hey, probably a bad week incoming for James Cook. Gabe Davis continues to play very, very well. Hopefully you all didn't give up on him. Tried to explain why we shouldn't give up on him over the offseason. I think there was some owners out there that were just so frustrated to the point they didn't even want to take a shot at him, which stinks because he's playing very well. Christian Kirk continues to play very well too. Great. Hopefully you all didn't overreact to Christian Kirk week 1. Let's look here. Atlanta Falcons and Houston Texans. I mean, Bijan Robinson continues to just dominate. He saw less carries than Tyler Algier this week, but Tyler Algier didn't really have that good of a day either. But, I mean, he ran 23 routes compared to Tyler Algier's 9. So, I mean, Bijan Robinson continues to dominate. Here's an important one that I definitely think we need to talk about a little bit more. He's in the waiver wire video again. He was ranked as like my number 13 tight end this week or something like that. Jonnu Smith had 49 snaps yesterday compared to Kyle Pitts' 40. He had 26 routes run compared to Kyle Pitts' 25, and he had 7 targets compared to Kyle Pitts' 10. Yeah, Jonnu Smith is definitely becoming a guy that he's a lot like when we talk about like Evan Ingram right now. Evan Ingram had a great week this week. But Evan Ingram has been a top 12 tight end all but this past week. And I've mentioned it several times, like he's a guy that's not playing well, or he's a guy he's playing well, but he doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's seeing a decent amount of targets. Jonnu Smith is kind of the same way. Not a ton of upside, but he's seeing a decent amount of targets, and he's catching those targets. So Jonnu Smith is a tight end starter for me right now, for sure. Houston Texans, I mean, Nico Collins led it again. Robert Woods, Robert Woods, Tank Dell, both banged up, unfortunately. Keep an eye on John Mechie this week and Dalton Schultz. Both of those guys could definitely end up being ads if Tank Dell and Robert Woods continue to be banged up. Let's look here. Detroit played well again. Sam Laporta, 3 receptions, 47 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sam Laporta is the top 3 tight end. I mean, I've had him high in my rankings the last couple of weeks, but I'll be honest with everybody. I should have bought in more to Sam Laporta at the beginning of the season. It's so hard because year after year after year, we see these rookie tight ends get hyped up and then inevitably don't do anything. And I was worried about that with Sam Laporta. The one thing that I didn't expect was Sam Laporta to have a bigger impact than Jahmyr Gibbs at the start of the season. But Sam Laporta is absolutely playing well. Absolutely playing well. Hosser, no, we ended up doing it on Sunday morning. Their website was down on Friday. They were doing some maintenance. So we ended up doing it Sunday morning instead. So Detroit just looks fabulous. Detroit looks amazing right now. They got to keep it up though. Adam Thielen seeing a lot of targets right now, 13 targets. CJ Chark, 6 targets. I'm just looking for like some top layer stuff. I'm not diving too deep right now. I've seen some people ask about Michael Pittman. I mean, I'm not 100% sure why we would want to sell Michael Pittman right now. We can talk about Ramondre Stevenson, that one guy, but I did a members only film breakdown this past week, and I went in depth on Ramondre Stevenson and the New England offense. That's another reason why, if you're willing and able to become a member, I highly encourage you to do it. Those film breakdowns that we do each week, if you're a member and you watch them, tell everybody in the chat right now how beneficial those are. And typically when we do a film breakdown on a player, they end up going off the next week. And sorry, I got a Anna sent me a message real quick. And it caught me off guard. So, with Stevenson, the film definitely shows a lot of issues, but even in that film, I was like, this week will not be the bounce back week. We got to wait for Las Vegas. Let's see here. I want to look up something here with the Colts real fast. So, I mean, Michael Pittman saw 7 targets that led the team. He saw 5 receptions for 52 yards. I mean, is that a great week? No, not at all. Is it a bad week? No, not at all. You know, in a full PPR league, he got you 10.2 points. In a half PPR league, not quite that, right? But he's still leading the team in targets. And I think moving forward, as of right now, we don't know a whole lot about Anthony Richardson. We know that it sounds like it's going to be an AC sprain, so a shoulder sprain. And it could be similar to what Derek Carr has right now, where Derek Carr is kind of playing through it. It could also be something along the lines of it ends up being worse than that because it's the throwing shoulder. And if it's just at the point where he can't rotate the as much as he would like to, that he's not going to play. Now, I will tell you, it's kind of the same thing that we have talked about, right? Zach Moss saw 23 carries, and that's great. If you started Zach Moss this week, awesome. If you didn't, I don't know how you could have started Zach Moss this week. There was not an argument to be had to actually start. Okay, I see you guys saying grade 3 straight. That's what they're saying right now, but he's going for a second opinion. He is going for a second opinion. So that's what I mean by we don't know a whole lot right now. It could be 3 to 4 weeks. It could be 2 to 4 weeks. It could be 5 to 6 weeks. He's going for a second opinion though, and we'll see see how things play out over the next couple of weeks. That's why I'm saying like we don't really know yet because we're kind of waiting on that second opinion right now. There was not an argument to be had to start Zach Moss this week. Jonathan Taylor not only returns to practice and not only says, oh, everything's good now, I'm fully healthy, let's play ball, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, gets a 3-year contract with the most guaranteed money that a running back has gotten since Nick Chubb. Like, where did that come from? Like, they, boom, just completely turn the handle on that situation. Were we playing Jonathan Taylor this week? No, we weren't. And I'm pretty sure like in the live chats and everything like that, I think maybe I said a couple of times Jonathan Taylor, and that was because there was just no other options. So there was no reason for me to try and say, yeah, let's figure out somebody else. Let's go with the guy that they just paid guaranteed money to, right? But not only that, but we have to also keep in mind when Anthony Richardson plays, Zach Moss doesn't get that type of volume. And Anthony Richardson went out fairly early in this game. They leaned on Zach Moss, especially being up towards the end of the game. And because of that, that just led to a larger workload. Now, the one thing I will give props to Zach Moss for this week is he was much more efficient. He averaged 7.2 yards per carry, which is obviously way better than what we've seen recently. But he wasn't getting a ton of volume. Like we've already seen how it breaks down with Anthony Richardson. He's going to get carries, but if you're shooting for 25 carries a game, that's not going to happen with Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry, but Zach Moss probably only gets like 18 carries yesterday if Anthony Richardson doesn't go out of the game. Okay. So moving forward, if it's Gardner Minshew, we probably got to look back to Zach Moss for next week potentially, as they still ease Jonathan Taylor back into the game plan. But I'm sorry, they're not going to pay Jonathan Taylor that much guaranteed money and then continue to let Zach Moss play over him. It's just not going to happen. If they were to do that, that would be dumber than the Lions spending a first-round pick on Jahmyr Gibbs and not using him. It would make no sense. Why would you pay Jonathan Taylor that type of money and then not use him? Zach Moss has played well. That's fine. And Deshaun, I told the same thing to a Zach Moss owner yesterday. I said, hit up the Jonathan Taylor owner and try to trade Zach Moss to the Jonathan Taylor owner. Do that. I don't think that they're not going to trade him. Nobody would give anything of decent value for Jonathan Taylor when he was being paid less money. Why would they give the Colts anything more now that he's getting paid more guaranteed money? That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If a team really wanted him, they would have paid for him and then signed them to their own deal. They're not going to pay for him now. It's just not going to happen. He's in Indianapolis. He's not going anywhere this year. So that's kind of what we're rolling with there. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously a good day with no Treylon Burks. As far as Derrick Henry goes, I mean, it just wasn't the matchup, and I've mentioned that. I've mentioned it before too. Like, I'm pretty sure I brought it up in this week's video when I talked about Tennessee, and I said the Colts defensive front, it's a little bit up and down. Like, they've done a pretty good job at stopping the run this year. They've given up some big plays. So there definitely was some concern about the ceiling for my phone keeps going off and it's distracting me. The ceiling for Derrick Henry this week was not great given what we could see from the matchup. So it's one of those things again where I'm not really worried about it because I'm just not. I guess because I said it and like I saw it coming and I understand the game situation. Like, it feels like sometimes when it's like, what's wrong with Derrick Henry? It's like we just look at the box score and we just go, oh hey, it wasn't a good game. What do we do with Derrick Henry? Instead of saying, okay, it wasn't a good game, but why wasn't it a good game? We just see the box score and we instantly jump to that. What do we do with Derrick Henry? Instead of saying, okay, what does it look like with Derrick Henry? And if you had listened to the start and sit video and even the ranking video this week, when I was talking about it, it's one of those things where you kind of already knew going into it that could end up being an issue. And that's just what ended up happening. It's just a tough defensive front. That's it. That's all it was this week. Zach becoming a member for the 12th month. And defensive Zach Moss, JT wasn't present in a lot of offseason activities due to injury holdout. It makes sense that they're not in any rush to bring him in, considering Moss had been doing well until this point. Exactly. And maybe I talked about most of this. I don't know when you sent this. My apologies. So I don't know if you sent it before or while I was talking about it or afterwards. But basically kind of what I just said, right? They're gonna try and ease Jonathan Taylor into it. He was never going to go out and get 20, 25 carries right away. It could end up happening maybe in a couple weeks, which is why if we're going to move Zach Moss, we're going to want to do it now. That one guy, welcome to Hole and Chubb. Thanks so much for joining the exclusive Headliner Nation. Oh, it was before I said what I said? Then we're on the same page, Zach. Makes sense. Samuel with $1 dono. Appreciate you, Samuel. Thanks so much for the support. Now, Checkmate, I like this. Because Checkmate asks, are we trading Zach Moss for Raheem Mostert if I own Devon Chan and he owns Jonathan Taylor? I like that trade. To some of you, that might feel like you're selling a little bit low, and maybe you are based on current production, but you're getting your handcuff and you're giving away another handcuff, and Zach Moss is not going to be his own startable player for very much longer. So, I mean, if you don't make a deal like that now, then you're just holding on to Zach Moss and you're hoping Jonathan Taylor goes down with an injury, which we never want to hope for, so that you could utilize him again, or you get your handcuff and you say, well, if something happens, I've got Mostert and I'm good to go. So I don't mind a trade like that at all. If I were you, I would maybe try to get a smidgen more, maybe just a little bit, maybe some fab money or something like that. Let's go back to some of the stats here. Miami, just absolutely ridiculous. Devon Chan, some definitely interesting numbers here. Raheem Mostert had 32 snaps. Achane had 26. 17 routes run for Mostert, 15 for Achane. 2 targets for Mostert, 1 for Achane. 10 carries for Mostert, 11 for Achane. That game plan kind of went the way that we talked about in the videos this week. When we kind of went through that process, we discussed that with Mostert and Achane, that Achane would probably be the starter, that he would be the guy to play, that he would have the better day. But because of the potential of being up on the New York Giants, we could still see Mostert at some point come in and be the guy and get a decent amount of touches. And that's exactly what happened. The biggest thing that we have to do with Devon Achane right now is not overreact, because he's playing well. There's no way he keeps this up for the rest of the season. He can't. It would be one of the greatest rookie performances of all time for any position. I mean, if he keeps up on this pace, we're talking 20 freaking touchdowns and almost 2,000 total yards. I'm sorry, that's just, there's no way. There's no way that's happening. So at some point, it's going to have to level out. Does it level out a ton? Like, does he come crashing to earth and you can't start him anymore? No, probably not. But there's no way he's going to continue being a top 5 back the rest of the season. Something is going to have to level out. So we just have to be careful with that. No substitute. I literally just spent like 5 minutes talking about Moss. You just missed it. So you'll have to rewatch later, but it will be towards the beginning of the show for sure. Ooh, JD won $1,000 this year. Love it. Or this weekend. Love it. Love it. Yeah, everybody that keeps asking about Jeff Wilson, no, it's not a thing. Just drop him. There's no reason to even own Jeff Wilson right now. Oh, man. I haven't seen anything about Achane being injured. I don't see anything like about him being injured, so I don't know where that would have come from. He might have been a little bit banged up, but even with that being said, they were up on the Giants, so was there even a reason to continue playing him? So, which again is what I just said, right? Which is what I just said. If that game was going to be the way it was at the end of the half, we could see more Mostert, and that's what ended up happening. For the Saints and the Patriots, obviously, Alvin Kamara had another good game. Kendre Miller saw a lot of garbage time. I saw some people talking about Kendre Miller. I'm still not interested in Kendre Miller. That was more garbage time than anything. It was still very much the Alvin Kamara show. Jamal Williams coming back here in the next couple of weeks. Definitely could see some more touches on the ground, but if Kamara's playing well, I doubt we see him take him off the field too much. For the New England Patriots, I mean, obviously, Ramondre Stevenson continues to have a tough go at it. I mean, two more snaps than Ezekiel Elliott. Did run 5 more routes. Zeke had 3 more targets, though, and they had the same amount of carries. The biggest issue right now with New England, and the members only film breaks this down even more in depth. It's the offensive line, and it's the continuous switching at the quarterback position. With Ramondre Stevenson, I'm not bailing yet. I talked about this in the film. I talked about this. It might have been in the film breakdown. I talked about it. His schedule coming up is a lot better. His fantasy playoff schedule has 2 really, really good matchups for him. A lot is going to be said about his performance this week against Las Vegas. If Las Vegas is a complete bust for him again, it might be time that we are done with Ramondre Stevenson. But again, it's not Ramondre Stevenson's fault. It's not. It has, I'm going to say it right now, 0 to do with Ramondre Stevenson. Absolutely nothing to do with him. Nothing. It is all on the offensive line. It is all on the quarterbacks. And it is also becoming an issue with the coaching staff not using him in the passing game for some reason. I don't know why. You don't have enough time to throw the football because your offensive line sucks. Your quarterbacks are making way too many mistakes. Why would we not utilize one of the best pass catchers on your team from last season more often? It just doesn't make any sense that Ramondre Stevenson is not seeing a bigger workload in the passing game. Now, unfortunately, not good, right? Definitely so far throughout the year have missed that call. My hope is he can turn it around. Definitely potential for a good week against Las Vegas. Does have another tough game after that. But then down the stretch, things should get a little bit better for him. I would be willing to risk it to try and trade for him right now as long as you're not giving up too much. As far as Hunter Henry goes, he played 42 snaps yesterday, which was third most on the team. Devontae Parker played 53, Kendrick Bourne played 47, Hunter Henry played 42, Mike Gesicki played 16, Farrell Brown played 11. Routes run, Hunter Henry ran 23 routes yesterday, third most on the team. Devontae Parker ran 33, Kendrick Bourne ran 30, Hunter Henry ran 23. Hunter Henry only saw 2 targets. Again, this was a tough matchup. We knew that going into it. Was not in love with this matchup for the New England Patriots. Not great performances back-to-back for Hunter Henry, but I still imagine with as many routes as he's running and as many targets as he saw at the beginning of the year, he's still going to be a guy that's going to be utilized heavily down the stretch. It was a bad matchup, and unfortunately, it's just back-to-back bad matchups. I'm not dropping Hunter Henry. The only way I drop Hunter Henry is if I own... I would drop Hunter Henry if I own Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta. I would absolutely trade Zach Moss for Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, I said Hockenson already. Kittle was one I'm thinking about. If I owned Kittle and I owned Henry, I would probably still keep Henry for right now. Evan Ingram is probably another one. If I owned Evan Ingram, he's seen more than enough targets that I would probably be okay going ahead and getting rid of Hunter Henry. But there's not many tight ends in the league that are seeing as many routes, snaps, and targets as what Hunter Henry is. So again, volume isn't always key, but it's part of the equation. People who say volume is everything are incorrect. Volume should be included as part of the equation, and it should still be weighed heavily, but it's not everything. Production is a lot of it. Opportunity is a lot of it. Hunter Henry is seeing volume, and he is seeing opportunity. The production just hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. We don't want to give up on that yet. Like there's a comment, New England hasn't been happy with Stevenson on passing downs. What have they not been happy with? Like, what is Stevenson? That's such a stupid, comment. What are they not happy with? Is he not pass blocking well? he's not getting targeted. So why wouldn't they be happy? Is he not getting open? Because the film review I did, he's clearly open when he runs routes. He's just not getting the targets. They're not doing design plays for him. And I don't remember in the film study seeing anything that showed that Ramondre Stevenson wasn't doing a good job blocking. It didn't offend me. It's just like, where did it come from? Like, what about, like, what aren't they happy with? Are you just making a generalization because he hasn't played well? Or have they legit said something to somebody about this is what we don't like? It just doesn't make sense. See, those type of comments frustrate me as a content creator because I never create content like that. I don't want to just create clickbait stuff, man. I don't want to go on Twitter and just write something to get a ton of likes and retweets. Like that type of content, it doesn't do me any good. It's not satisfying for me, and it certainly doesn't help you all. And then to come out and say New England's not happy with Stevenson. Why, though? Like, what's the point? Like, I just don't. I'm not a fan of that type of content creation. It's very lazy. It's very lazy. And again, like I said, it doesn't do anything. Me making up stuff, is it really going to help you all do better? No. If I make stuff up to make myself look better, or more important, it's just going to end up hurting you all in the long run, and then you're not going to want to stay here. So what would be the point in that? It's very weird. I'm not riled up about it. I'm not riled up. Definitely pushing back on it, I would say, but I'm not riled up about it. It's just it is a very big pet peeve of mine. It is a very big pet peeve of mine. It's one of the reasons why now I will say I got riled up about Travis Etienne like the first couple of weeks of the season because there was legitimately people on Twitter still pushing the narrative. Even after we saw the first 2 weeks, Travis Etienne being the lead back, getting a majority of the touches, doing all these things, there was two accounts on Twitter in particular and many others that were continuing to push this narrative that Tank Bigsby was the better running back and would soon take over. What numbers or research do you have to defend that? Like, where is that coming from? That's why that did get me riled up for sure. I was really, really upset about it. Really upset about that. You know, I understand why people were on the Kincaid hype train. It's just one of those things again where, I mean, it washes out, right? I said, I told people to worry about rookie tight ends. Dalton Kincaid was a guy that I was willing to go a little bit higher with, but I think by the end of the season, he dropped out of my top 12 tight ends. I had him at the very end at one point. I think he ended up falling back into high-end tight end too. So even though I may have been decently right about that one, I was wrong about Laporta, so they offset each other. Did I lose a fantasy matchup? I don't think I did. I actually think I won all three of my my leagues this week. And 7 of my 9 pick'ems from yesterday hit. It would have been 8 if James Conner didn't get hurt. So no, I had a great weekend. I felt like I made a lot of really good calls. Week started off kind of tough. Brian Robinson obviously did not hit. And I mean, I'll go back and look at it right now. Hold on a second. Ray, you stop it. I can't. Hold on a second. Ray out here trying to get me riled up. Appreciate you, Ray. Ray's an OG. I can tell. I can give Ray a hard time. He can give me a hard time. Matt, what did I bowl? I didn't bowl yesterday. My back is still really bothering me. I did not bowl yesterday. I just watched the kids bowl and hung out. So, I mean, I had Christian McCaffrey at number 1. Obviously, still had a good game. Didn't finish anywhere near that. I had Bijan Robinson at number 2. He ended... Bijan Robinson at number 2. Ended up with a touchdown, but didn't finish that high. Brian Robinson I had at number 3. That definitely didn't end up working out, right? So we talked about that at the beginning. So Jake just messaged me about a Chan, and there was an article this morning that did say, yeah, he might have been injured towards the end of the game. And again, if he was banged up, like we mentioned a minute ago, if he was banged up, then yeah, more than likely they pulled him off the field for Mostert. So Brian Robinson did not work out well on Thursday night, but then we bounced back. I had Breece Hall as my RB4 this week. So I missed the call on Brian Robinson for sure. That game did not go as I anticipated. I did not see the Chicago Bears at Washington getting a lead of 20 points and not being able to let Washington run the football. But Breece Hall, I had at number 4. I had him ranked higher than any analyst in the country. If you look at the consensus rankings, I had him ranked higher than anybody last week. I'll take that as a win. David Montgomery, I had at number 5. I'll take that one as a win as well. Having both those guys inside my top 5 last week. Josh Jacobs hasn't played yet. I had Derrick Henry at 7. Obviously, that did not work out. James Conner at number 8. He was well on his way to a top 10 performance, and then he got hurt. That sucks, man. That sucks. He was well on his way to a top 10 performance. Ben! Darth Desmond gifting a membership to the Headliner Nation community. Ben, appreciate you. Thanks so much. He was playing Denver, Matthew, which is one of the reasons why I ranked him that high, right? Like, matchup is a part of it. You can say, oh, he was playing Denver, LOL. Yeah, that's why one of the reasons why I ranked him that high. And then on top of that, they said that they were going to take some of the limitations off and they were going to let him run. Of course, that's why I had him ranked that high. Now, if he has tougher matchups in the future, I won't rank him that high. But what about the analysts out there that were ranking Breece Hall as their RB 17, 18, 19, 20? There was one analyst that had him ranked all the way down at RB 27 this week. What about those guys or girls? Oh, you were agreeing with me. Okay, I got you. I thought you were saying it sarcastically, like the only reason he did that good was because he played. I get what you're saying now. But yeah, like that's why I had him ranked that high. Then, obviously we'll go if he plays a tougher. I don't know who he plays next week. I'd have to look at it. But if it's a tougher matchup, then obviously we will bump him down. We won't have him that high again. I had Alvin Kamara at number 10. Decent week for him. Tony Pollard had a tough night. I had him at 11. Travis Etienne I had at 12. I should have gone higher with Travis Etienne, but I still had him inside the top 12. DeAndre Swift, not a bad game. Receiving really helped him out this week. I had him at 13. Achan I had at 14. Could have gone higher with him. We'll see, and again, I'll have to double check what the schedule is for next week. He'll end up moving up a little bit. So those are two guys I could have been higher on, but I still had them definitely as guys that were playing. I mean, Devon Achan ended up being green too. He was in green for me this week. Joe Mixon at number 16. That's a guy like right there where, I talked about it, like didn't have a high upside, but should still see enough touches. I think he probably landed right in that area. James Cook and Kyron Williams were guys that I had at the back end of RB2 status. Again, lots. There was some risk associated with them. We had them a lot lower. I had Jalen Warren over Najee Harris this week. That ended up working out. The big issue was I felt like I did really well on running backs. Brian Robinson, I felt like, was my only big running back miss of the week. Tight end was not great. I had a rough week at tight end, which I shouldn't because I'm the tight end whisperer. And mainly because I had George Kittle and Dallas Goedert outside the top 12. That was a big miss on my part. But man, where did those performances come from and where have they been all season, right? Let's just hope they continue to go that route. I did have Sam Laporta all the way up at number 3. Travis Kelce obviously was number 1. I did an area that I didn't miss on is I told everyone to give Darren Waller another week. Giving Darren Waller another week. We hit on Darren Waller, right? He ended up going higher. He ended up being right up there towards the top 5, over 80 receiving yards. So, those were pretty big misses in terms of Dallas Goedert and George Kittle, so that stinks. But I got Jake Ferguson right. I also missed on Cole Kmet. So 3 tight ends that I really missed on hard this week, unfortunately. But that's going to happen sometimes. Especially when they're playing as poor as they are. I know Jake sent me his hits and misses as well. Yeah, I've told some people to hold out on Goddard, like don't get rid of him yet. But it still doesn't negate the fact that I had him really low in my rankings this week. Should have went higher with him. Didn't. Hopefully nobody missed out on a big performance because of me. But I do know for a fact, and I'll call him out by name and he'll be fine with it. Realistic Ricky. Okay, he's in the chat all the time. I don't know if he's here right now. Oh, Ricky, yeah, he's right there. I felt like I don't do this often, especially with like Ricky. Ricky's one of our long-term members, super dedicated, understands, never gets upset. But oh man, he messaged me before that game and he said, hey, I need more upside. Do I go with Musgrave or do I go with Kittle? I'm thinking about putting Kittle in. And I was like, man, Debo's fully healthy. Ayuk is back out there. I said, obviously, McCaffrey getting work. I said, athletic linebackers for Dallas. I still think Musgrave with a banged-up Aaron Jones and a banged-up Christian Watson could end up having more upside than George Kittle. I messaged him after the second touchdown, and I was like, dude, I am so sorry. He's like, it's all right, man. I understand. And then after the third touchdown, I was like, dude, I feel like crap. And he was like, I get it. I understand. He's like, I get your thought process in it. He wasn't upset at all, which is super cool. So I appreciate that, Ricky. Thank you so much for that. I thought the process I felt was right, but the outcome was, but who knows? Maybe Musgrave scores 3 touchdowns tonight and then it wouldn't matter anyway. So, I felt awful. I felt awful. It's just one of those things where definitely for our members that have been around a long time that are super understanding. If someone gets upset about it, it's so much easier for me not to care. Like if you're going to get that emotional over it, man, it doesn't help me to get emotional over. But when it's someone super understanding and a big time member, it's like, crap, man, I messed that one up bad. So yeah, I screwed that up, but who knows? Maybe maybe Musgrave has a big week tonight. And then Ricky, he even responded to me. He was like, it doesn't matter. He was like, even if I played Kittle, I would have lost anyway. So in the end, it ended up being a wash. It didn't cost him a win, which made me feel better about it. I didn't feel like my process was bad either. It wasn't like I was just going on a gut call. I followed my process, but that one didn't work out. Some hits at the quarterback position this week from Jake. Sam Howell had him ranked inside the top 12. He finished as quarterback 5. Justin Fields kept him ranked inside the top 12. Told people he was starting him. He finishes the number 1 quarterback. Brock Purdy called out the Dallas defense for only being good because they faced bad quarterbacks. Talked about his potential upside this week, finished as the top 12. Some misses at the quarterback position. Josh Dobbs, game script when his plan had 2 interceptions, didn't run at all. First time in 3 weeks with an interception and not at least 40 rushing yards. Desmond Ridder had 4 total touchdowns through the first 4 weeks. Didn't have more than 237 passing yards in an NFL game. This week he went for 329 and 2 total touchdowns. Bryce Young came into the game with 2 touchdowns on the season. Didn't have any more than 204 yards. I thought I just heard noise behind me. Last week he had 247 yards and 3 touchdowns. Some hits at the wide receiver position. DJ Moore had him ranked higher than anyone in the industry, inside his top 15. Adam Thielen, he had him ranked inside higher than anyone in the industry in the top 20. Puka, we didn't abandon Puka because of the Cooper Kupp return. Kept him at wide receiver 9. He finished at wide receiver 10. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, been talking all along about bad luck getting better. Both ranked inside the top 24 despite playing Buffalo. They finished well this week. Some misses. Terry McLaurin only had 5 targets in a game they trailed from start to finish. Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, and Antonio Gibson all ended up with more targets. Zay Flowers had the opportunity, led with 11 targets, tripped last second and missed a huge 50-plus yard touchdown. Brandon Ayuk had a couple of big calls played back, or a couple of big plays called back due to penalties. Game out of hand and did not play in the fourth quarter. So those were a few of Jake's hits and misses as well. And I think you did hear something behind you, and I'm going to need you to stop. I'm going to need you to just knock it off. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, Jake and I talked about it yesterday. He messaged me and he's like, question for you. And I said, answer. And he goes, do you feel like this season overall has been a better success than some previous seasons? And we kind of talked about it a little bit. And we actually, as we stand currently, we do feel like our process this year has led us to better results. Now, well, the thing about me, Miles, is I can see myself on camera because of my recording stuff. So I would be able to tell if someone was behind me. We do feel like overall we're having a very good season. And we do feel like overall we're having a successful season. The one thing that we do wish people did a little bit more of at the beginning of the year is stick with us a little bit longer. Because unfortunately, I think one thing that we've saw this year more than in years past is people getting upset and leaving right away. And there's nothing that we can do about that, obviously, but we have seen, it feels like a little bit larger audience this year go, hey, we're with you for 1 week. You didn't get all of our questions right and we're leaving. We want to look at an overall stretch run of the season. And we feel like through 5 weeks right now, we've been very good. So I do believe that we are on the right track. I do believe that a majority of the people that we talk to after maybe a couple of rough weeks are starting to take off, and do a lot better. Jake already called him out Saturday night for tilting in his chair. I see now. I had to scroll back up to see what was being said. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, hey, like if you're watching right now and maybe you're new here, give us multiple weeks. Don't give us 1 week. Don't give us 2 weeks. Give us multiple weeks. Give us several weeks to help you. I feel like we do a very good job of making people overall better fantasy players, understand the game of football better. And I believe so far this season we're on the right track. As far as preseason calls go, I do feel like we've had some really good preseason calls. So far, we have missed on a few guys as well. A.J. Brown was a must-have for me. Travis Etienne was a must-have for me. Kenneth Walker was a must-have for me. Those are like 3 big names. Ramondre Stevenson hasn't done what we would have liked to yet. He was a big name for me. Who else? CeeDee Lamb hasn't really done what I would have liked to as of yet. Still time. Still time. Who else? I mean, Hunter Henry had a first good couple of weeks, and all of a sudden, last couple of weeks has sucked. So yeah, I feel like we're on the right track. And for those of you that are watching right now and sticking around, we greatly appreciate it. For those of you that continue to watch the videos on a weekly basis, we appreciate it. For those of you that continue to use a level head and continue to understand that, this fantasy football is a lot crazier today than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're on the right track. We're on the right track. I like our process this year. I like where we're headed. And I like the confidence. I feel very confident this year. There was times last year where I didn't feel confident. But I feel like with the process we've developed, especially with me this is my second full season doing this full time, I think it's allowed me to kind of tweak what I was doing last year, make it better. And I'm feeling very confident. I think you see it in my rankings the last couple of weeks. Guys like Breece Hall, guys like David Montgomery, guys like Travis Etienne, not fading him too far, things like that. I think you see that in my rankings as well. There's a couple of people that made comments last week. They were like, there's just some spicy rankings. Like, your top 5 is kind of crazy, but I like it because I like the thought process behind it. We're going to keep doing that. Brian Robinson didn't work out. Breece Hall did, right? We'll keep doing that. Yeah, Big Mac talked about Achane in the preseason. He was a little bit higher on him than I was. My concern wasn't the explosiveness of Achane. I think his performance is shot. I don't think anybody thought this was going to happen. I knew he was definitely capable of big plays. My concern with Achane has always been holding up over the course of a few games. He is an undersized player. I mean, I'm not trying to talk down about him or anything like. He is an undersized running back. That's just the way it is. So I'm trying to be cautious that he can hold up over the course of an entire season. If he does, then I'm absolutely wrong, but I'm just trying to be cautiously optimistic with Achane. And Mostert was one of my number one sleepers, and he's won you some weeks. I mean, you didn't spend anything on Mostert, so if he won you a week, you already got your return on investment for him. Marcus, I started watching you guys last year because my father introduced me to the headliner. Sadly, he was diagnosed with cancer and will not be with us next year. You guys are amazing. Marcus, man, I am so sorry to hear that. Please tell your father. Thank you for being a supporter, and thank you for introducing you to us. Hopefully we can continue to help both of you with the time that he has left. I hope his battle can at least turn in a positive direction for as long as possible. But your entire family will be in our thoughts. So I'm very sorry to hear about that. But ladies and gentlemen, again, this episode here on Monday mornings is not about start and sit advice, not about trade advice, not about things like that. We go through breakdowns. We talk about hits and misses. We talk about different things that happened over the weekend, go through some matchups, things like that. And that's what this is for. So I'm going to go ahead. I ended up going a lot longer than I wanted to. This has now been an hour, so I don't know how many people are going to end up watching it. I'm probably going to go ahead and bounce out now at this point. Hopefully you all had a successful weekend. I felt like we did here, so hopefully that translated into you all having a successful weekend. I'm going to go ahead and get going, though. I got to get started on running backs for tomorrow morning. Going to start working on all that. Going to decide what I want to do for lunch, and we'll go from there. But ladies and gentlemen, Margaret, forehead kisses. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you all on the waiver wire show that will come out here in a little bit. And then obviously running backs tomorrow morning. Everyone have a great rest of the day. See you later.
When the game on the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now